Johnversations podcast, episode 19. My guest today is a professional singer and musician. She's also the lead female vocalist for the Chicago-based band Final Say and the marketing and communications director for School of Rock in Oak Park, Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Miss Morgen Hare. Morgan, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome.
Virtually.
It's a bummer that I'm having to do everything virtually now, but it is very, very good to see you. We were talking a little bit before, but I haven't seen your face in like 16 years. So
it's unreal.
It's crazy. We're both adults now, which is insane. So
don't remind me.
I know it makes you feel old. Like, I was looking at the band I was in after, Mercury Shoes in high school. Our first record came out in January of 2005. And I was like, wow. Oh my, it's been 15 years since that. Like, it's crazy how fast time has gone by.
Holy cow. I think I was a junior in 2005.
We're in high school. Little babies back then. So it's cool to be able to reconnect with you. And as I was telling you, kind of before we started, like over the years, I've been following you as far as following your career, I should say. I've been following you sounds a little like I've just been looking around a lot of corners and being like, oh, there's
Is she there? Is she there? Okay.
I've been following your career and you were always somebody that growing up, I was like, man, this person has like an insane amount of talent. Like, you've always been an amazing singer. You can dance. So there's a certain feeling that I get when I see someone that I've always been like, oh my, like, especially knowing you at such a young age, to see you kind of grow up and then blossom and then be able to take your gift and really make a career out of it, I think is just something that is absolutely awesome to watch and something that, I think people should admire. And so, like I said, I'm really, really glad that you're here with me today. And kind of going back to when we were younger, one thing I wanted to ask is, like I said, you've always had an amazing voice. You've always been extremely talented. But when was it for you that you kind of found that passion for singing? Because as long as I remember, like, you were singing. You know what I mean? So, like, is there a moment that you can pinpoint, or how did that kind of grow in you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's kind of embarrassing, but I started dance lessons when I was 4. And then voice when I was 7 and piano when I was 6. So it's like all of them really, really close to each other. So by the time like 9 rolled around, I was walking through Kohl's with my mom and I was like, we need to pick out your Grammy's dress. And she reminds me to this day at Kohl's that I was in my head, I was like, okay, this needs to happen. Like, music is my life. I will do whatever it takes and hustle to make it my career. And it's been a passion of mine for, I would say, 80% of my life.
That's awesome. I can relate to that. I remember being around that age and I discovered Boys to Men. Like, my mom grew up, I grew up like Garth. My mom was like a country fan. So like, she listened to like Garth Brooks and Clint Black, and then my dad was like a typical 80s kid. So it was like Journey and the Eagles, and then I found like through MTV or something, I found Boys to Men, and I was like,
was it the 2 album that came out in like 95? It was like Thank You.
Yeah, I believe so. Is that
Unbended
the one?
Knee.
Yes. Did that one? Motown Philly wasn't on that one though, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, Bended Knee was awesome, and I remember in
I'll Make Love to You.
Oh,
that was that album.
That's the jam. Yeah, I was just talking, Theo Hollingsworth was on last week, and we were talking about the show we've been watching, High Fidelity. That's on Hulu.
Okay, for sure.
And there's a guy who does a cover of it, and we're like, you ruined that song. Like, it's absolutely terrible. But no, I got, I remember being in like 6th or 7th grade, and I got the album that had like 4 Seasons of Loneliness on it and Mama, and I remember being like in elementary school, and if I liked a girl, that's what I did, is I sang them like Boys to Men on the playground.
Look at you.
Oh, I was not smooth at all. I was as smooth as chunky peanut butter. I was a little round kid.
Hey, that's my favorite peanut butter. So I'm just saying.
Trying to do the dance moves.
Oh my gosh. Can you stand the rain? Like we could,
Oh.
well, that's not Boys to Men, but New Edition, but still, oh my gosh. Actually, that's really funny that you say that because one of my students, because I also teach 1 day a week voice and keys, and one of my vocal students, his name is Daryl, we are trying to come up with more music, and I was like, listen to Boys to Men's first album. So he is now learning Thank You, and he's learning I'll Make Love to You. This little, no, he's not little, he's 17. But I'm like forcing him to really get involved in like 90s R&B.
If you want to learn harmonies though, and like structure, like I can't think of anything better to be like, hey, you want to learn how harmonies work? Put on a Boys to Men record and then listen for like the 4 different, point out the baritone.
I'm having him transcribe on the piano. I'm like, okay, I want you to find like the tenor part, and then I want to hear you play it. So it's great because he sings and also plays keys. And yeah, well, that's really great that I'm trying to encourage more of my students to listen to that music.
Oh, it's so good. And my wife she's an R&B, and then like we're 7 years apart. So she's really into like early 2000s like hip hop and stuff like that, like Genuine My Pony when that song comes on.
Oh man.
But it's, yeah, I mean, I think there's just so much to learn for it, especially if you're having them transcribe it. Because if you're writing songs, like what better way to learn how to write your vocal line? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like write your song and then write your melody as a separate piece, and then kind of
fill it in. Yeah, and it helps with voicing a lot too, so they can understand how effective voicing works. So it's not just like block chords, or if you're thinking about piano wise and vocally, it's Boys to Men.
Yeah, I play a little bit, but I'm that guy. I'm the block chords. I'm like, I can do this chord and then just move up and down. But
that's okay.
It works, for what I'm doing. If I like need an idea or something like that, it works okay. But I'm definitely not transcribing a Boys to Men album on the reg. So
no, I don't blame you. It's not easy at all. I kind of feel bad for making him do it, but whatever.
Yeah, he'll come out of it better,
right?
Yeah, and if somebody did it to me, like maybe I'd be better at it. So can't hate on it. I did want to ask you teach for, you do communications and marketing, but I know you teach as well. It's like 1 or 2 days a week for School of Rock. And I'm sure some people are listening like School of Rock. It's like Jack Black's movie. People are teaching kids essentially, how to rock. I wanted to ask you a little bit. I mean, I want to talk about Final Say and all that, but
totally.
That is definitely something that, again, you being so talented, and someone that I've always looked at and been like, because I'll be honest, I mean, if knowing you when I was younger, I could honestly say like, I would be surprised if this person didn't make a living out of, her talent. So knowing that you have that gift, but then choosing to kind of share that gift and work with kids to kind of like foster that love and that passion, talk to me a little bit about how that happened. Like, how did you end up there? Or what attracted you to that?
So I felt like we need more positive encouragement, specifically within the arts. But in my mind, it was always like it takes one teacher. It's that one teacher that is your confidant, your supporter, your cheerleader, the one that just sees the world in you, that can propel you. I had that one teacher. Her name is Mrs. Newman now, I think. It used to be Miss Kopp, and now it's Mrs. Newman. She was my choir teacher back in high school at Salem. And she inspired me and just was one of the essential catalysts that helped me to just be like, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I feel like I am a very enthusiastic person, and I have a lot of energy, and it's like, okay, I want to be able to give back to students like my teachers gave to me. Like it's this career is not laid out in stone. There isn't like, okay, you get your bachelor's and then you get an internship and then you do this. It's not even close to that. It's almost like, okay, I'm going to do everything that I possibly can, throw everything at the wall and hope that something sticks. So if I was able to kind of maneuver my way through, maybe I could help someone, you know, younger than me, just maneuver their way through and kind of have an inside look and some support. And that's really kind of what propelled me to want to teach. And I actually was a TA back in college. So I went to Columbia College, got my bachelor's in vocal performance. And it was interesting, you know, being a TA in college, it's a little different. And I thought it would be more apropos to my disposition to work with younger students because of my energy. And it's a different world, you know. And I will say I have 3 seniors that are graduating this year, and we just did a senior video because none of them could walk, you know, across the stage because of COVID. And
that's crazy.
So we put together a senior video, and I did a little tribute to all of my seniors, and then the group as a collective. But as I sat and I thought about it, it's not just about what I can give them. It's about how they have helped me grow. My kids have helped me grow not only as a musician, but a person. You know, I'm able to look at the world differently because I now have like an inside like resource into the generation that's coming up, and that will be responsible for all the craziness that our generation and our parents and our grandparents have kind of, you know, instilled upon them, or forced upon them rather. But it's a mutually beneficial situation. You know, it's what is it called?
Like a quid pro quo.
It's like it's a biology term. It's where the host is benefited from. Never mind.
I'm the wrong guy to ask.
COVID brain. It's
even without COVID, I'm the wrong dude to ask. I'm not a biology guy. I'd have to phone a friend and ask my wife.
It starts with an S. That's all I know.
Symbiotic? Is it symbiotic?
Symbiotic relationship. You got it.
Dude, I pulled that shit out.
Yeah, you did. Air high five. Boom.
Boom. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
It's gotta be rewarding to, because I mean, I'm sure like, yeah, I remember I picked up a guitar when I was like 12 or 13 and I fell in love with it. And, you know, like, obviously, I mean, just being honest, I probably just didn't work that hard. I was probably just like, oh, you know, like we're a band, somebody will check us out and like us. And it's probably just that, like, I was a little lazy, but I like, even now I still write songs and record stuff. And even if nobody hears it, it's almost like a therapeutic thing.
Definitely.
But I know for me, like when I got into playing music, like there was nobody that was like, hey, look, like I've gone to college I have a degree in vocal performance. And like, let me tell you what it's like, you know, like what it's like to actually try to make a living in this industry, like from a realistic point of view. So I'm sure that it's rewarding to, number one, kind of foster that talent and say, like, hey, like you've obviously got a talent, a skill, a passion. I'm going to help you grow. But then I'm sure for the kids, it's very beneficial to have somebody who, you know, I mean, you're living it, like you're gigging all the time. And, you know what I mean? Like somebody who, you know, lives the life they live because of pursuing that dream and for that love of music. So I'm sure that it's like, it's beneficial for them to have somebody to be like, hey, look, I'm on the inside. I've lived this. I can kind of, you know, at least one avenue of the direction you can go if you're trying to pursue music as a career.
Yeah.
So
it's and especially with what's happening now, it's been, one of my students is 9 and she is going to be a force to reckon with. Like this little girl is probably one of the most talented individuals I have met, like students I've ever met. And I asked her what she wanted to be when she grows up. And she's like, I want to be a singer. I was like, of course. I'm like, what else? And she's like, I want to be a dancer. And she's going off, you know, telling me all the creative things. And I was like, okay, don't ever stop doing those things. But I want to be completely honest with you. And it was that like watershed moment where it's like, I have hustled and I've done it all, you know, like I've been a financial analyst. I've done retail. I started in hospitality and restaurant industry. You name it, marketing, office management. But I also had to encourage her to always be curious. Never just be like, oh, I'm only going to do one thing. You know what I mean? Always kind of keep your mind open to other possibilities, because with what's happening now, like gigs have dried up, not only for, people like me and local cover bands. I mean, I've played in China, I've played in Hawaii, had tours in Hawaii, I've all over, but like even the 1% of the famous gigs are canceled. So it's like a pandemic like this can really change an entire industry, specifically the entertainment industry. And it's interesting. I'm also trying to encourage my students, like, hey, do you love animals? There's marine biology. I wanted to be a marine biologist for a while. You know what I mean? It's like, stay curious and open to all things, but never stop playing music. Never let go of music, but always stay curious and keep your mind open. And it was kind of sobering to like, this is the first pandemic since 1918.
Right.
Spanish
flu. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I had never imagined having this conversation.
Yeah. It's
what?
Yeah. It's definitely crazy. Like, I didn't have any like concert tickets that I purchased, but me and my wife, I mean, I think my wife more so humors me, but I'm into a lot of stand-up comedy. So we had tickets to see this dude, Bert Kreischer, that was supposed to be in May, and then it got pushed back to August, and I just got an email. He's like, we're not coming until January 2021.
Yep.
He had tickets to see Trevor Noah.
What?
Yeah, and he ended up canceling. He's not rescheduling. He just canceled it, and everybody got refunded. But it was just, it's like,
it's a bummer.
It is kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, it's nuts because I don't think that we were prepared for it all, and I think that I don't know if you saw the story about the lady who went to the bar in Florida with her friends, and
yep, all 16 of them got it.
Yeah, it's like, and Florida's been open for like 2 weeks, and they're like, oh shit, we're shutting down again. So it's it's nuts, and especially being, we're talking about this a little bit before, but like growing up in Michigan and kind of that, kind of like the people's mindset there. And then living in Tennessee, and I love it down here. I love the people there. It's for the majority of my experience, it's been great. But it's really weird right now. Like, I feel like I go into Kroger and I'm the only person like wearing a mask. It feels like, and
that's so unnerving. That's terrifying. That's like, it's not that way at all here in Chicago. Like, people everywhere, masks everywhere. Like, they won't, because of Illinois, it's mandated. Like, you have to wear a mask if you go into any. I got my car, just regular fix up, oil change and everything today, and signs everywhere, like on the door, you aren't even allowed to enter the building if you don't have a mask. And one guy did, and they made him go right back outside. And I was like, yes, thank you.
Yeah, down here, it's the whole, like, I'm not living in fear. Like, if you're sick, stay at home. And it's like, dude, I get that you're not afraid of being sick. But I also think it's pretty fucking irresponsible.
And selfish.
Not care if you get sick and then pass it on to, go see your mom or dad or whoever. Like, people are getting together in large groups down here. And it's hard because sometimes my wife and I were like, we're the only people that we know that are still like trying to be responsible. Like, we're, I won't.
It must be isolating. Like,
dude, oh my God. Yeah. I feel like an island in like the middle of nowhere. It's weird. Like, I can't even tell you, like, I've gone like pick food up, but like I have no plan in my head anytime soon of being like, I'm going to go sit in a restaurant,
Wow.
And then you drive by Cracker Barrel down here and it's like nothing ever happened. The parking lot is full of people and it's nuts, man. It's like the Wild West out here. It's crazy.
Holy cow. Yeah, no, they are. Pritzker is like holding it down. Lightfoot is holding it. Mayor Lightfoot and Governor Pritzker, they're holding it down. I used to live like downtown, and then, working in music, it's like loudness, noise, and people all the time. So I was like, okay, when I go home, I kind of need silence and I need distance. I need a change. So I'm now like 15 minutes from downtown, just west. I'm still like Cook County, but I'm in Oak Park technically. Okay. And before Pritzker and Lightfoot even closed down the rest of the city, the village closed down Oak Park. We were the first village in the state of Illinois to just shut everything down. It was unreal, but I'm really thankful that they did it.
Yeah, and it's crazy, like, because you've got all these people complaining, and even again, with my whole family being in Michigan, I know your family still lives there, right?
Actually, I still have some family there, but my immediate family, my mom and dad, are in St. Louis now, and then my brother is in Colorado.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my mom, my dad, my two sisters, my brother, all my nieces and nephews are still up there. Sure. So I try to keep my finger. I'm the only one who left, so I try to keep my finger on the pulse of like what's going on up there, and especially when people were doing like the haircut protests and like you're in. I can't buy seeds at Walmart. And I want to be like, dude, do you think on the Oregon Trail, like they went out and like went to Walmart and bought seeds? Like if they need to go fishing, do you think they got on their supercharged power boats and hit it's like, no, like you can do that shit. There's just other ways. There's other ways to do it that don't have to make people sick. So it's, I don't know, man. And then you see their numbers, like they're like one of the only, I think them and Maine maybe, or Vermont or something, like one of like the northern tip states are the only states that have seen like crazy drops in numbers. So it's like it's hard to argue.
I know what map you're talking about. It's the deep green color, right? Yeah. I think we were the light green, so it like dipped by like 5%. I don't know. Like I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, our hospital beds down here, they're getting filled up, and
that's insane.
Yeah, 6 days ago we were at like 28,000 cases. We're at like 32,000 now. So it's nuts, man.
And it's like for people like me in my industry, and even like hospitality, hotels, and like these industries like theme parks. Those of us who require large groups of people to actually make a living, and even like restaurants, playing in a bar or playing, it's really frustrating for people like us, because it's like every time the numbers surge, my trajectory to get my job back is pushed even farther away. And it's like my entire circle and network, we're all talking about having to adjust our careers now, like adjusting our career path. It's like, I can't, we can do all the live feed Zoom shows we want, but that doesn't replace going on tour. That doesn't replace, and there's a magic of playing live with other human beings, and it's so incredibly frustrating, because this whole thing has been, for me, a constant uphill battle just to get benefits, which I still haven't gotten. Just to, it's really terrifying, and it makes me sad. It's like, you're not you, but obviously, but like the people who are frustrated about getting a haircut, like, okay, you're frustrated about a haircut. Imagine working your entire life for a career and then it being gone, and then ignorant people who are worried about haircuts are ruining it even more for you. It's like, breathe.
Oh, I took my hat off before and I showed you my haircut. And I'm somebody, I typically get my haircut every 2 weeks. I like a nice fade from skin up on the back. I try to, it's like my wife makes fun of me because that's like my, like going to the spa. Like I go to the spa and I talk with the guys and I come out and I'm lined up and everything like that. And
you just feel good. I get it. Like
I put a mask on and I went to Sally's Beauty Supply and I bought clippers, because I would rather go there once to buy those clippers than have to I can't imagine going to a barber shop right now. Like I can't, you know what I mean? Like that's too close to my fucking face. Like I'm not
for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, I'm not. And if I can just, the first haircut I gave myself turned out, because I did it myself. I didn't have my wife help me. The first one turned out great, and then didn't realize that I had it set way too low this last time, and just did that first one, and I was like, oh shit, damn it, it's all coming off now. This sucks. I sent my wife a picture. The back was like, my hairline was like, I still had hair like here, and then it was all, I was like, I fucked up so bad. I was like, It's all coming off.
But you know what? Like, you tried. Like, that's the whole thing. And it's so, there's the understanding that it is aesthetic. It's so non-detrimental. It's not people's well, it's the barbers, it's the hairstylist livelihood, true, which I get, but it's also like for the people who are protesting, just sacrifice, please.
And it's, I'll say it's hard too, because I do have sympathy for, people who can't work, and I'm sure, and that also. That's why I like Lightfoot in Chicago, because anything I've seen with her, she does not play. She's the most serious looking woman I've ever seen in my life.
I've seen that look before, and that's my auntie. Like, that's the look. Like, you better not play, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Like, just immediately like, something bad might happen if that face happens, and yeah.
Well, I think it is really just gone to show like how, if you're a restaurant and you can't afford to be closed down for like 2 weeks, it just goes to show like how like broken the system is. You know what I mean? And the $1,200 stimulus was like, helpful, I guess, but like,
I laughed.
That's a mortgage payment. We've been in this thing for months, so it's
that's 1 month worth of rent.
And when you think about restaurants operating at a profit margin of like 4%, it's like I think what this did was really kind of shine a light on like how we're a capitalist country, but I think it shined a light on like how broken that system was. You know what I mean?
Completely.
And it's
completely.
Now, let me ask you this, because you being someone, with teaching and playing live music, you definitely strike me as the kind of person who like, and I'm a little weird. I've been in my day job. I've been working from home for like the last 3 years. So coming up on 4 years.
Okay.
So like the working from home thing wasn't really, I've always been a little bit more of an, like even when I was playing in bands, like, we play a show and I'd be sitting at the bar drinking coffee and the rest of the guys would be like out talking to people. I'm just kind of like, for them, that's why I like doing the shows, because like I'm doing it from my house and I'm talking to one person as opposed to like being in a large group. My wife is someone who like very much needs that social connection. Like if she goes a long time without it, like it's really hard on her. Are you someone like that who like, being used to like, playing events all the time and being around lots of people and teaching and stuff like that, like, has it been hard for you to not have that like normal social interaction that you would normally have? Or have you been enjoying kind of like the break a little bit?
Well, to be honest, I have been enjoying the break. So I'm very animated when I speak. I'm very outgoing. But I am definitely an extroverted introvert. I am happy hanging out with like 1 or 2 people, maybe 3. Like once things kind of opened up after one of the protests, my boyfriend and I went with a friend of mine, socially distanced and responsible, to a restaurant in Chicago afterwards. And it was just the 3 of us, even just talking and hanging, well, the 4 of us, 3 of them, that was like enough for me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like I got so excited. But it's interesting because with gigging, having like 160 plus gigs a year, it's like constant people all the time, everywhere. And it's not only talking to people, it's performing then for people. And then you emote, and it's physical labor to dance on stage with 3 50-minute sets in heels and then belt at the top of my lungs. And then during the breaks, have a conversation and then try to, do basically field sales when you're trying to pitch to people on and like afterwards, it's kind of rude if you just leave. You have to schmooze before, schmooze between, schmooze after. And not that I hate it, but it can really be exhausting. So I love being home. I am definitely a homebody, but luckily I live across the street from a park, so I'm able to go biking. There are tennis courts all over the place. I can play tennis. I can actually leave without having to do the work spiel of like, okay, you have to be on. And that's the thing that like Robbie is my partner in crime on stage. He's the male singer for
he's awesome. I've watched quite a few of the videos that you've posted, and you guys kick ass together.
Thank you. He's a good friend of mine and my stage husband, and we talk about it. It's like the minute you step into your car, like even if you're on your way to a gig, if something happens, like someone could cut you off and you can get pissed and honk your horn and then get to the gig and realize, oh crap, that was the car that was in front of me that's now at this gig that I now have to talk to that person. And it's like you have to be on all the time. Yeah, and even if you're having a bad day,
and you're getting paid. I mean, it's a job, so it's not like you can be like, hey, you fucking asshole, thanks for coming to the show. I'm the dude. You just got, because I mean, in the bands that I played in, we played a lot of bars. We did, we would do like your New Year's night at the bar and do like the 3, hour sets and stuff like that. And it's there. I think you're 100% right. There's some times where you're like, people don't think when you're there, you're a performer. So people aren't like, oh, I wonder what happened in Morgan's day today. I hope nothing. They're just like, oh my God, are you going to play this fucking song? You guys are awesome.
Free bird. And then you're just like,
can you play Sweet Caroline? I hated that. I hate that fucking song.
Call Me Maybe. I want to hear Call Me Maybe. Oh, I will be singing that in my grave. Like,
do you guys actually play it?
Oh my God, yeah. Okay. Still to this day. And you know what's crazy? They go nuts every time. Still. It's shocking. It's just shocking.
Yeah, it's crazy because we did a lot. We did bar gigs and stuff just for money for like merch and stuff like that. But it would be crazy because we'd think we'd be doing like some like obscure cover, and there's always somebody that's
one guy.
That's my favorite fucking song, dude. like thank you so much.
And then you see them and you're like, yes, this is for you.
Yeah. That's, if I were you, if anybody asked to play Call Me Maybe, I would just start playing Friday by Rebecca Black. Just version of that.
Well, I'm notorious in my company for Call Me Maybe. Reason being, it irritates me so much that I have them do cut time during the breakdown. So, hey, I just met you. It's crazy. After everything kind of like, how all the instruments go down during the bridge. And I have all the drummers know in my company to go, so like we make it super metal, and I end up doing like my gradient, like really big scream. So from low and then like emo scream. And like everyone in the audience is like,
that's not how the song goes.
But then they're like, okay. And then they like it. And I'm like, yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it sounds like when you're doing like the, I'm like, I imagine like almost like Imagine Dragons, how they have like that like crazy big, like drum sound.
Yeah, yep, and then I have every drummer like do this just gigantic solo fills. I tend to like drummers are my spirit animals, so I always, whenever I have a sub drummer, and then my drummer Tyson, who is my spirit animal, but all the drummers know like, okay, I gotta bring it. She's gonna ask me to I step aside a lot, and I make everyone kind of like step aside and be like, all right, I want drums. Just give it to me. Give me all of it. I just need more. And it's great. It changes things up. It's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna hear Call Me Maybe, but 70% of it will be what you remember. And the rest of it, you're going to be like, holy shit, what just happened to my ears?
That's awesome.
Great.
Let me ask you this. Is there a song, and maybe Call Me Maybe is this, but is there a song that you guys like to, or that you like to do particularly because it surprises people? So like, for example, it's up here somewhere. Oh, it's back there. So we went on a cruise for our honeymoon, and they had live band karaoke. And, you know,
ooh, nice. Yeah.
And so I put my name in, and I go up, and they're like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "My name's John." And they're like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "I live outside Nashville, Tennessee." And you could see the look on everybody's face. They were like, "Oh, this dude's gonna do like some Garth Brooks or like some Hank Williams or something like that." And then the band kicks in, and it's "This Is How We Do It" by Montel Jordan, and like everybody lost their shit. And I won a little trophy. I have a 24 karat gold plated. They called it the piece of ship. It's just a ship statue.
Yeah.
But for me, it was really fun because like nobody, I'm like this little like chubby dude. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody, and I like to think that I threw it down. I had a really good time, but I like people weren't expecting. Do you have any songs that you do where you're like, it kind of catches people off guard, or like, oh shit, like I didn't think that she would kill it that hard, or is it anything?
One of them, and I mean this is one that you hear often, is "I Want to Dance with Somebody," but there's something that I do. So you know how there's a key change at the end. So I have Robbie end up singing the melody in the lead after the key change. So what I do is I do my own thing, and then I sing above the key change, and then it starts, and then it falls right into it. So people are like, what? Like, you normally think Whitney Houston is high, and it's like it takes a lot of technique and precision and effort to sing her music.
And control. I mean, that's a lot of, that's a lot of notes to just go rogue on it.
Yes. Yeah. So then I go above her key change and above what she sings, and then I come into it. And I call Robbie, and I spoke to him about this, I call it the Shaka tone, Shaka Khan.
Yeah.
You know, how she goes really fucking high, and it's just, but there's a placement for it. There's a technique and a placement for it. I figured out how to do it. And so now I kind of like incorporate it here and there. That I think people are surprised about. And then sometimes if I'm feeling it, I'll pull out the whistle tone, because I can do the whistle tone. And so then people just kind of go batshit, and they're like, what? I did that for so I also do commercial work. I did a Big Lots commercial, and it was for Christmas, and they wanted like kind of Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You." And then, so she does all the whistle stuff. And so he's like, yeah, I know she does that. I'm like, yeah, no, I can do that kind of thing. So we did that whole feel for Big Lots. And then I pulled out we did a whole take of me just doing whistle tones all over everything. And it was kind of like, they didn't realize, and they were super caught off guard with it. And it was really a lot of fun, but it's funny to have those moments where people are like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, I like to call that the tea kettle.
The tea kettle. Yeah.
He hits those notes, and it's just, I mean, I'm not even going to like attempt to imitate it, because there's no fucking way. But it's that's cool, because I think, people kind of associate, like, when you think of that, like you think of like Mariah Carey, or so it's when you can do something like that, since your brain only associates maybe one or two people, it's like, just like, oh, holy shit, like you're like you must be like some kind of phenomenal human being, because you can do this thing that like I only know of like two people who can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The Minnie Riperton one. I think I said her name right. Sometimes I'm, COVID brain. But my friend, one of my best friends, who's also a vocalist and probably one of the most talented singers I know, her name is Nicole Burton. Nicole Garza is her stage name, but she got married, Nicole Burton. And we would go to parties, and she'd be like, sing the thing. And I'm like, okay, all right. But now, I mean, should I sing it? I feel like I've been talking about it.
Dude,
do you want to
I mean, if you want it, I'm definitely cool to hear it. I'm not going to be like, sing for me, but if you would like to, we
might need to delete this part just in case I can't hit it. So it's the loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. No, I was too low. Loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Or I can go.
Yeah, I can't.
So it's that.
I can't do that.
Yeah. So yeah, that it's actually easier for me to do that than it is to belt.
Yeah, because you're not having to put as much lung power behind it. It's just getting your voice to that octave and then being like, okay, now that's the other thing too, is that you hear someone sing, and you're doing a run when you're doing the ooh, I can't do it, but you're doing you're doing a run of notes, and it's when you talk about control, it's like if you fuck up one of those notes, it throws that whole run off. You know what I mean?
Oh, completely. Completely.
Yeah, it's like people who can do that naturally. I'm just like, because I've always just been like, I write like silly love songs, and there's nothing like vocally complex or anything about it, but it's just something that I like to do. So when I hear somebody that can do that, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you're a hybrid human being.
How dare you? How dare you?
Not even how dare you. I'm just.
Oh, that's me. Like, shut up. You shut up with your amazingness.
Yeah. No, I'm just like that. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy. It leaves me in awe to be like, to there's like those people that you go see and you leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like those.
Alan Stone. I felt that way. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
No.
Oh my God. Okay. We talked Boys to Men before this started, and we're talking like Montel Jordan. You need to listen to Alan Stone. Hands down. He is phenomenal. And I saw him live, and Unaware. Look up on YouTube, the YouTube version of Unaware. Okay. And it's actually extremely pertinent to our current times. It's one of those like moment songs, kind of like what's going on. It's very akin to our entire social, political, and economic climate. But it's like he does things, and you're just like, what just happened? How are you? Why? This was amazing. And then you just, yeah, it's all of those emotions.
It's so like my wife, she's a big fan of Kings of Leon, and I always like, I always liked them. Like they had like their radio singles and stuff like that. But when we met, she started playing, I started like kind of getting into, like their early records and kind of deep diving on them, and they've become one of my favorite bands. And we went and saw them maybe it was before my daughter was born, so it was probably like 3 years ago at Memphis in May. And it's not, he's a good vocalist, but he's not doing tea kettles or anything like that. Like he's
tea kettles,
but
I love it.
When you go, so I kind of expected it to be a good show, and I left and I was just like, when you go see a band that is captured so well on a record, and then to be like, oh, that's just who they are. Like I've seen lots of bands where their album is like awesome, and then you see them and like you leave and you're like, it's not.
Yep.
It's not as good. And I left seeing them, and I was like, oh, that's all they do on the records. They're just like, this is who we are. This is our sound. We're not trying to, and that's like kind of what I fell in love with them. So getting to see that live, I was just like, man, this like blows my mind that there's just people out there, you know what I mean, that they don't need that kind of production, and it's just, this is what we do, you know what I mean?
Yep, completely.
Or who's that guy who does that I'm going through changes? You know what song I'm talking about? I have to look it up.
Oh yeah.
I forget what his name is.
Oh, that was the theme song to Big Mouth.
Yeah, but there's the guy who sings it. There's a video of him on YouTube, and I'll have to send you the link because he fucking, I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head, but he fucking crushes, like almost in like the Ray Charles, like Otis Redding, like that stuff has just got like the most heart behind. That's still if I put on like Otis Redding's greatest hits or like Ray Charles' greatest hits, it's like just right, it's like a kick in the chest. You're just like, oh, I gotta feel everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. Shoot, for real.
So because I could just talk about people playing live all day. And I did want to ask you, so I know that you've actually, speaking of all like the crazy shit going on in the world, I know that you've actually attended some protests pretty recently. And like, I wanted to ask you as somebody who has been there, because, you see so much on the news of like, looters and this and that. And it's like sensationalized. It's like, they want to get as many eyes tuned into their channel as they can. But as somebody who was there, I wanted to kind of, ask you, like, what was that like for you in that moment? Like, what was the feeling like when you left? Like, what did you walk away with?
So I feel like in order to accurately depict how I felt afterwards, I'd give you kind of like a brief what I walked into it like with it. I'm sorry, what I walked into it with, essentially. So I'm Black. I am also Syrian, Lebanese, and like a tiny bit of Norwegian. And I have directly experienced racism towards me my whole life. From elementary school, like before kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, out of college, all facets of my life, I have experienced it directly. I've witnessed my family experience it directly. My dad is Black, and I've been the child in the back seat witnessing it, and it's been a challenge, because when you do experience those things directly, it takes a lifetime to not only just get over, but to come to terms with that. There's nothing that you can do for a certain group of people to just give you basic decency and respect. There's just nothing you can do. You're born the way that you're born, and you're already discounted. And it's really, it brings up a well of emotions of, sadness, anger, frustration, hopelessness. And from history and how things have unfolded, it was hard to kind of retain hope. And then this year happened. And to be completely candid, these were the first protests I've ever been to, personally. And this time, I was talking to my dad about this. This go around is very, very different. I feel personally that it's not just Black people or Black and brown people that are just being like, our lives matter, Black lives matter, like our lives matter. It's like everybody, it's all races, all creeds, all sexual orientations, all like everybody, you name it. And then it falls on Pride, Pride Month all the more. And like, I'm also bi. So like, for me, it was just overwhelming to see the amount of love and the amount of support coming from all sides. And it was just, it's almost kind of like if you were on a roller coaster and then you get off, the minute you step foot on solid ground and you're like, whoa, like that kind of like your insides are kind of still moving, your head's kind of still moving, but you're planted on the ground. And it's all kind of very shocking, but it's also like a nice warm feeling. For me, when I walked away hopeful, because I also saw a lot of really, really young kids, like not just teenagers, but I saw like little, like 5-year-olds, like parents who brought their kids. And I was like, exactly, parents are willing to tell their kids, don't take candy from a stranger or don't talk to strangers. And yet there's the fear of like, I don't want to expose my kid to these things. It's like, well, it's really scary, really fucking scary to tell a kid not to take candy from a stranger or because they'll take you in their van. I don't know if you ever got that talk as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I had to know
right?
my address and
your address, your name, your phone number, like your parents' names, and it's like
we had little fingerprint and ID cards that we had to do. I think it was like for Dare, but like we had our in case we went missing, we had like a fingerprint sample. Yeah, because that shit worked real well. Because Dare was a that's something else.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But it was just really inspiring. It really, I feel that having everybody on the same page, well, not everybody, the majority of people being like, look, why is this a question that one person shouldn't be treated the same as others? It's like, it's now with the Supreme Court, ruling this week with transgendered equality in the workplace. Like, I feel like this movement is propelling our nation to have the largest civil rights movement of our history at this point. It's it's electrifying and it's exciting.
It feels like a revolution.
It is. And then I just read, the Supreme Court ruling with DACA. Like there's a change. It's now not the minority that's ruling things. It's the majority of the people that are like, hey, this is kind of fucked up. This should not be this way. And so I just feel like, it's nice to not feel alone. It's
for sure.
It's great to have like all of us standing together with like our arms intertwined. Well, not really now because of COVID, but
Yeah. Well, and it's cool. It's crazy because even when you look at the protesters, like what we're talking about, like before, like most of the protesters that I saw were all wearing masks. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, like we understand that this is still going on. So like, let me put my mask on, but I still need to get out. And it's
completely.
Yeah. I don't know. And I will say, like, kind of listening to you, talking about growing up and stuff like that, it breaks my heart because like I just shared a video. It was in downtown Plymouth. There was a guy holding up a sign that said Black Lives Matter, and some dude in a real expensive old white dude in a real expensive car rolled up and said, "Not to me, they don't." And pulled, like, it's like, I don't know. And the town that like we lived in, looking back, it felt like it was a pretty liberal place. You know what I mean? But then kind of looking at it through a different lens when you're older, it's like, I don't know. It's still like, I don't know if you've seen any of this on Twitter, but there's a whole Twitter thing going on right now with Plymouth Canton Educational Park being racist. And there are students that are coming out and being like, hey, I had this teacher and they would say racist shit to me. And I went and I reported it to the office. The office, the principal didn't do anything about it. This dude's still here teaching.
Wow.
This girl,
I did not hear about that.
Yeah. This girl reported her ex-boyfriend who was like stalking her, and he ended up like pushing her down a stairwell, and the school like didn't do anything about it. And it's just, I mean, you just hear all these stories, and it's, you look back and, part of me too is like, I'm a white dude. You know what I mean? I've got a privilege that like I will never really understand the depth of that. So, you get older and you look back and you're like, oh shit, like I had no idea anything like this was happening, because like it wasn't anything that fell on me. You know what I mean? And then it makes you feel fucked up for not like having like the foresight to like be looking for those issues, and
like when I hear that, and I've had a couple of, like, specifically recently, a couple of good friends of mine, we were talking about this, and they've articulated a very similar message to what you're saying. And for me, what makes me all the more angry is that history is not being taught. Like, you know what I mean? There are people like you and my friends and a lot of people in this world who are not willfully trying to not know these things. But when history is whitewashed and kind of just shoved in a corner, and it's like, oh, this little part, this little thing happened. No, it's not a little thing. It's a big thing that is still happening, and it's systemic. And it's like, for you, I mean, and it frustrates me because it's like, you know, that's not fair for those who are enlightened and who do want to, you know, better themselves and who do want to be informed. And our educational system is cutting you off at the knees from the get-go, and you don't even know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, I mean, not okay.
Like, it's crazy that, you know, there's, you know, like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy that, you know, I didn't know about that until I watched, you know, a TV show this year, like Watchmen. Yes.
Good.
Dude, and it's for free this weekend. So if anybody hasn't seen it, HBO's putting it up for free, you know, because of everything that's going on.
Forewarning, the first 10 minutes are very upsetting, but yes, you need to see it. But the first 10 minutes of the first episode, I cried. Like, it was really upsetting.
But it's crazy because, like, you could literally see, like, after that show came out, the first episode came out, everybody was like, no way that's real. And then they're like, holy shit, like, that's real. And you don't learn that there was, you know. And then I went down like the research rabbit hole. I was just like, Google, tell me everything about this. You know what I mean? And it was literally just like, hey, you're too successful. We don't want you being that successful. You guys control too much. So we're just going to come in there and fuck shit up.
And the most frustrating, like, for me, the most frustrating part of the Tulsa massacre was because supposedly a black man hit on a white woman. And that's actually why.
Heaven forbid. You know what I mean?
And then white mobs were up in arms. And it's really...
Was that Emmett Till? Was that... Or is that... Because I know that there was...
No, that wasn't Emmett Till.
Okay, because I know...
I don't think they actually... No, Emmett Till was separate. I don't think they actually... They did in 2018, they actually did an in-depth delve into the history of it and how it unfolded and the actual numbers of the people that died. And they never, from what I have researched, I've never seen a name. I might be wrong, but I've never seen a specific name of that one guy. It was just a black man kind of a thing.
I don't know. It's just like, and like I said, like heaven forbid, like you, like, you know, pay, like, hit on someone, or, you know, I mean, you know, obviously, like, you don't want to just go around hitting on people, but it was, you know, a different time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, I don't know. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I've just been trying to listen. Like, I was talking about it on probably 2 episodes ago, but, you know, Ellen put out that tweet that was like, you know, I support all people of color. And, you know, Twitter was basically like, hey, it's not people of color matter, it's Black Lives Matter, you know. And then my wife works with someone that she prefers to be called a person of color. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. I've kind of figured out that, like, my job is I just need to, like, listen, find what causes I think are going to help, and then we've just been trying to put our wallet behind it. Like, my wife and I have both donated to Campaign Zero and 8 Can't Wait. We've got a shirt up on our merch store right now that if anybody purchases it, all that money goes to 8 Can't Wait for police reform. And
for sure,
you know, it's just like it's, you know, the thing that really drives me crazy. And I was talking about my wife with this, but it's like, you know, I told her, I was like, you know, let's say my wife passed away, and, you know, heaven forbid, and I'm at her funeral and I'm up there talking about, like, how special of, you know, how wonderful of a wife she was and how special her life was and how great of a mother she was. And if somebody in that fucking, while I'm giving a eulogy, if somebody stood up and said, well, actually all wives matter, I would be like, yeah, like, I'm going to
get out.
My head off.
Like, get out.
That's obviously all wives are important, but that's not what I'm talking about right now.
That's not the problem right now.
My wife specifically, you know, it would just, I don't know.
Just to let you know, So I did look it up. So on May 30th, according to the History Channel, on May 30th, 1921, a young black man, teenager named Dick Rowland, so there's his name, entered an elevator at the Drexel Building, an office building on South Main Street. At some point after that, the young white elevator operator, Sarah Page, screamed. Rowland fled the scene, the police were called, and the next morning they arrested him. By the time the rumors of what supposedly happened on the elevator had circulated through the city's white community, a front page story in the Tulsa Tribune that afternoon reported that the police arrested Rowland for sexually assaulting Page. Supposedly. But sexually assaulting in that day could have been saying hello. Like, you never
look lovely
know.
Today, ma'am.
You look lovely today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then as the evening fell of that day, an angry white mob gathered outside the courthouse, demanded that they hang him. And then the Sheriff Willard McCullough, refused. And so that is when that's when all hell broke loose. So thank God for the internet to be able to like fact check ourselves, right?
Well, yeah, but like you didn't did you hear that in school?
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
no.
You don't hear anything about that. You know what I mean? Like, you hear Christopher Columbus was this great dude who discovered America. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like, but was he really, or was there a mass genocide and a spread of disease?
Right.
But it depends on who writes on who writes the history books, and that is where that's the term that I reference, whitewashing. It's just you never. Well, and I don't mean that in any offense, because I mean
none taken.
Like with my mom, so my mom is Middle Eastern and she's Norwegian with like a little bit of Scotch Irish and French, but she's half Middle Eastern. So, but she favors her father, who is Norwegian and all that. So she has blonde hair, blue eyes. Like, she totally favors her dad.
Oh yeah, I met your mom. She
yeah, you did.
She used to drop when we were making music in high school. She used to drop you off all the time because you couldn't drive yet.
Yep, so true. Oh my God, so long ago. I was so young.
She was a charming woman. I remember her being very, very nice.
She is one of the most driven, intelligent, outgoing, open-hearted, humanistic human beings I have ever met. She's also my best friend. But yeah, she was also, I tell her, I swear to God, she was black in another life, my mother. She's phenomenal. But her and my father, like, hearing the stories about what they went through just to be together, you know, it's like, and that was in the 70s and 80s. That wasn't even during the Tulsa massacre in the 1920. That was 70s and 80s where they received harassment consistently. It's just, I mean, I digress. It's just kind of.
Well, it's like you hear some of those stories and you're like, oh, well, like, did you guys get together in like early 1900s or like late, you know, because it's like you can't, I don't know, man. It's like, and I definitely understand, you know, I think every person is programmed with unconscious bias, right? It's just, I mean, it's just, it's a normal
thing. You're born
thing.
a blank slate.
Right. But it's, you know, do you recognize that you have, like, can you catch yourself and be like, oh, like that is just something that completely like popped into my head, and it's like, you know, it's a stereotype, and it's not right for me to just assume this and like work to get past it. And I think that's every person. I think that's, you know, white people, black people, Middle Eastern people,
everybody.
You know, you hear so many stereotypes as you grow up that it's hard not to, like, for your brain just to kind of jump to that. But like, can you take a second and just be like, oh, like, hold up, like, I'm being like, that even spans to like gender biases too. You know what I mean? And it's not like, I feel like so many people are fixated on, you're either racist or you're not. You're a misogynist or you're not. You're a feminist, you're sexist or you're not. Like, not feminist, you're sexist or you're not. You know what I mean? It's like black or white. It's a switch, but it's every day. People, you know, we're human beings. We are flawed. There's no, you are 100% this or you're not. It's like every day
you got to take the time to better yourself. And it's about progress. It's about moving forward and progressing. It's not about everything or nothing, because that idea, I feel, it's a regressive idea, and it's really not helpful, because I see that too with this movement. It's like, well, you're not doing it this way, or you're not doing it this way. It's like, okay, yeah, just not saying anything obviously doesn't help, but that might be different for them versus saying really bad things. You know what I mean? Everyone is on their own path to try to continuously better themselves. And I think encouragement of conversation is huge.
Oh, for sure.
You know, the fear of even talking to each other without completely horrific repercussion it's inhibiting a lot of people trying to just, learn and surround themselves with a more diverse culture. It's like, I have friends and acquaintances that have asked me things, and it's like, hey, we didn't know this. What does this mean? I don't mean to offend you. Am I offending you for asking this question? It's like, no. Frankly, I'd rather have this conversation. I would rather talk to everybody if I can. I mean, don't be blatantly horrible and say horrible things, and then I want to backhand you, but
right.
But I mean, we have to talk to each other.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have someone in my life here that, down here that I'm very close with. I love with all my heart, but like, we come from two completely different backgrounds. We were having a conversation. He was like, well, the police kill more white people than they do black people. And I was like, yeah, I do know that, but I also know that white people are about 70% of the population and black people are about 13% of the population, and they're being killed by police at a rate of 24%, which is an 11-point discrepancy. So yes, they do kill more white people, but when you look at what's happening more frequently, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, and and then the response is like, well, I just know I wouldn't want to be a police officer. I'm like, no shit, neither would I. You know what I mean? Like, and the other thing that has driven me like absolutely like up the wall, cuckoo bananas, fucking crazy, is that like these protests, these rallies are all about police brutality. And it seems like the cops like can't just stop for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like they're like, I don't know if you saw Genesee County, which is like where Flynn is in Michigan. The police chief, he took off his helmet and his entire he's like, look, we love you. Like, we want to be part of the community. We want you to know that like, you can come to us. We're going to march with you. But then you've got, Atlanta, and they're shooting, like there was a protest here in Murfreesboro, and my wife and I were kind of like, well, like, should we go? And I've been watching the news and seeing all these people get hit with rubber bullets and like people losing eyes from like pepper gas canisters.
Pepper spray and flash bombs. And it's like, even just for standing there, even for doing nothing. I mean, my God, what was it? 2 weeks ago, just for the photo shoot for the president to go across at that church. I mean, it's just like, you're trying to exercise your First Amendment rights. Everyone's so caught up on the Second Amendment, but the First Amendment, I guess, doesn't mean anything anymore. But it's like, you have to literally take into account, okay, I have a child. I mean, I have people that depend on me. Like, I might be incapacitated just for speaking out for the betterment of all society. Like, that's...
Yeah, and if she was crazy. Older, like, she's 19 months. So, like, if something, heaven forbid, because, I saw, like, there was a pregnant woman who got hit in the stomach with a rubber bullet and lost her kid. And it's because, rubber bullets are designed to be shot at the ground and then bounce up and hit so they lose velocity. If you shoot somebody at point blank range with a rubber bullet, it'll go through their skull the exact same way as like a normal bullet, Yep. So it's, and they ended up using tear gas and crowd dispersing at the one in Murfreesboro. But it was just like, it's like, I think if my daughter was older, if she was like, 7, 8, 9, 10 and could understand, then let me explain this to you and why we're going. But like, if anything happened to like me or her mom, and she's not even like an inch into her life yet. You know what I mean? So it was like,
yeah, completely.
And then did you hear that the cops in Atlanta are like refusing to answer their radios and they're like walking off the job
because of the Rashad shooting?
Yeah. Because both those cops were charged. Were arrested and charged.
Yeah, the main guy, what was it? Felony murder?
Mm-hmm.
No, felony homicide.
Yes. Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's like it wasn't
premeditated, but
it wasn't premeditated. But if it was any other human being on the street that did it, it should be the same thing, right? But why is it? And I have family who are in the force. I have family who have served in the military, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Army, all of them. Family that were police officers, and they're fantastic people. And it's so frustrating to see this because, you say that not all cops are bad and people freak out. That's like, saying not all protesters are looters. People freak out. It's like, how can we have this conversation? That's so frustrating. But what he did, and then I found out, I just heard recently, yesterday, that they had video after he was shot twice. Rashad was shot twice. He was on the ground dying, and the cop kicked him.
Yeah.
And was kicking him. Yep. It's like, what? How is that viewed as okay? And why are police okay with that?
Well, and the thing that pissed me off with that beyond belief, because a lot of people are saying like he resisted, there was a scuffle, he grabbed the cop's taser, and that's all valid. He did those things. That's on.
Yes, he did.
Do those things.
He was drunk. He was on parole.
Right.
He shouldn't have done any of it.
Which most people who do stupid shit end up getting arrested. Trevor Noah was talking about it, but it seems like most people who get arrested for, crime and shit are probably drunk or are probably, you know what I mean? Like probably been drinking or doing something stupid.
Yeah.
But like 2 weeks ago or, 2 weeks prior, you hear from the police that, using a taser is non-lethal. It's not excessive force. It's, it's a safe way to subdue someone. This guy got shot twice in the back because he aimed a non-lethal or a less lethal, at the police officer. So that was a reason to shoot him in the back. And it's like, you have to make up your fucking mind. It's one or the other. You have the dude's car, you have his license, you know who he is. You can just not shoot him and go pick him up at his house, or, you know where he lives. You don't I don't understand why that is like the go-to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a gun is a stop sign now.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it's like, I don't care what you did. Like, unless you have a gun and you're like, you were actually threatening their lives. Okay. Completely. But like, that man didn't deserve to die for making mistakes in his life. And like,
well, it's like the whole Candace Owens thing when she's like, George Floyd was a criminal, like, and you're making him a martyr. And it's
martyr.
Yeah, like, no one's making him like. I think
he's
Chappelle
not
said it best. Chappelle, he's like, we did not pick him. You picked him.
You picked
for
him.
Us.
He was just here, and it happened to him, and so he is now the one. Like, I don't. Yeah, no.
And the thing that drives me crazy about her, because I could just. Like, she put out some tweets that were like, I'm honored that Dave Chappelle, like, I'm part of like his like legend now, and I have a sense of humor and I can laugh about myself, and I just want to be like, he's not like joking. Those weren't like, he wasn't telling jokes about you. Like,
no,
he's saying exactly how he like honestly and truly feels about you, And so it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like, he didn't like what do you, and I've talked about it before here, but it's like you scroll through Facebook and it's just like, oh, here's another video. Here's another fucking video. God damn it. Here's another fucking video. And like, obviously, like, it's important that people know what's going on. I think the other thing that's been infuriating me now is like, you're seeing all of these like pro-Trump, like fired up, like they feel that they now have like free reign to say all the racist shit that is like they've, before, like maybe they've kept under wraps, and they're like yelling at kids for putting up Black Lives Matter signs, and like,
oh my God, are you talking about that cyclist?
There's a cyclist, but there was another dude who was he's ripping him down. I was like, oh, the same thing. Not to me, they don't. Black lives, not around here, they don't. And it's like, what the fuck is like, what kind of, I can't imagine I can't imagine walking around all day with that kind of like hate in my heart. Yeah, I can't. Like, I can't.
Why is it a question that a specific life doesn't matter simply because of the color of their skin? Why is that? I mean, why is this a conversation to even have? Like, all people matter, obviously, but there is a disproportionate amount of this certain type of people who are being killed for no reason. Like, why this shouldn't be okay? Why is that? What does that infringe upon? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why?
And it's like,
what does that stop anyone else from having? Because their lives, our lives, my life, my father's life is in greater jeopardy. Like, I don't understand it.
And it's like, again, for those people that are like, all lives matter, like, they can't. All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? Like, like it's like you're not. Like my wife said, she goes, if someone comes up to you and says Black Lives Matter, the only acceptable response is, yeah, you're right.
They do. They do.
That's the only thing that you should fucking say. You shouldn't say, well,
that's like, the sun is bright.
Right.
Yes, it is.
The sun is really hot.
Well, it's really hot. Well, I don't know about,
I mean, it depends on how close you are to it. And if you're not, it's not that hot. If you're, it's like, dude, like,
all right,
let's drop you on the sun and tell me it's not fucking hot. Like.
Someone used the analogy of like a house being on fire. There's a house on fire on a block, on your, like a residential block, and the firefighters come to put out the fire, and you don't run in front of the firemen and say, no, wait, spray down all the houses, the houses, like all the houses matter.
Right.
And it's like, no, this one's on fire.
Right.
This one matters right now. Like, this is, I mean, it mattered in general, obviously, but really matters right now. Like, this needs attention, not spraying down the rest of the homes first. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. And like, I really feel like the word "but" right now, like, oh yeah, Black Lives Matter, but I feel like that's like the indicator that some low key or probably very upfront like racist shit is either something I'm going to hear or something I'm going to read. Like, Black Lives Matter, but black people, black on black crime. It's like, dude, that's not like what we're fucking talking about. You know what I mean?
No.
And it's just, it's again, it's like the whole system needs reform. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're going to have, if you're sending 90% of your police force to neighborhoods where people of color live, whether they're, black, Mexican, Asian, whatever, it's like, of course, that's where those arrests are going to happen. If you send 90% of your police force to the white neighborhoods, you're going to get all of your arrests from there because you're looking for them, so it's like, I don't know.
And it's just like, it's really interesting, like, to even break down just the words Black Lives Matter. It even spans beyond just the police brutality. It's like with redlining, like being a black person moving into a predominantly white neighborhood would decrease the value of all of their homes. Right. The value of that person's life, simply because of the color of their skin, devalues property. Like, that's
insane.
That's insanity. And then, like, that inhibited, generations of families and people to lose income and lose value in what they owned, therefore systemically putting them in certain neighborhoods, in certain situations, And then, the prison industrial complex, let's not even go there. You know what I mean? It's
or
just
the school to prison pipeline. When you look at inner city schools, it's like, we're just setting you up, dude. Like,
yeah, pretty much. And you are incredibly right. It's the whole system. Yeah, it's systemic. And
I was talking about it with a friend of mine too, but I was saying that, like, I think part of me wonders if this would have kind of I think COVID, like, the best way I can think about it, if like the George Floyd incident was I don't even want to say incident, the George Floyd murder, right? Not because it's not. I mean, if that was you with your knee on my neck for 8 minutes and I fucking died, they wouldn't be like, well, Morgan, we're gonna lay you off from your job and we're gonna do an investigation. Like, they'd be like, hey, you just fucking murdered that dude, Morgan, so like you're going to jail. But I think that COVID, if it was like a stick of dynamite, I think COVID cut the wick in half. Like, because you keep hearing like, stay home, we're all in this together. We have to take care of each other.
We're all in this together. That was the message, the lovely message that's been programmed in every station, Fox and ABC and NBC and MSNBC, like any BET, all of them. We are in this together. Like, cool, we're in this together. Finally, a unifying message, right?
Yep.
And then this shit happens and it's like, oh, wait, we're all in this together. This is not okay.
Right. And I mean, I think too, it's like, we're all take care of each other, but we're going to see Black communities get ravaged by COVID because they don't have access to healthcare. And even though we're supposed to be in this together, we're going to watch this guy have a knee put in his neck and murdered. And then it's going to be live streamed out. Like you're hearing this message, we're all in this together, but then like, obviously we're fucking not, you know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what, like, it was like, oh, well, this is all, it's, to some extent, it's like fucking bullshit. We were talking like, in downtown Detroit, like, you can't go, there's not like a grocery store, there's not like a Kroger or it's like, there's nobody out there making.
The food deserts also play a huge role too.
Yeah, like, I know, like, I had friends who lived in Wrigleyville, so I used to come down to Wrigleyville all the time, and I've had I was actually arrested in Wrigleyville. That was only place I've been in Cook County for the drum tank for a couple hours. My only time being arrested was in the great city of Chicago. So, but
I keep it classy here,
right? Yeah, but they had an Aldi. You know what I mean? Like, you could, that was the first time I ever even heard of Aldi. It was like, hey, we're going to the Aldi. Like, bring a quarter for the shopping cart. You know what I mean? So, it's like, there's less jobs, right? And then you're on public transportation with everyone. So one person like in Florida, everybody goes to a bar, 16 people all get it because you're packed in, right? And then like there's no place for you to go to get like healthy food and maintain your immune system. And then you don't have the jobs, you don't have healthcare, and then you're living a lot of people in one home because there's not access to like fair housing. And it's just like, I think I think COVID really just kind of exposed, like, we're America. We're not supposed to be like our economic infrastructure is supposed to be stronger. You know what I mean? Like, we're supposed to be the place that like takes care of our people. And then this hit, and you're just like, oh shit. Like we're a lot of talk, but very little action. You know what I mean?
Yes. So true.
And then the president came out today and was like, I don't think a lot of people knew what Juneteenth was before I scheduled I think that's why most people now know what it is. I'm like, you fucking.
That's when like I look like I'm having a seizure, and I'm like,
that's terrible.
It's like as Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek stated, live long and prosper, my friend.
Right.
One impossible thing at a time. Like, right. I have that written on my mirrors, in my bathroom, in my dining room, like workplace. Like, I have it everywhere. It all can start to feel like it's coming in on you. You know, it's like this and this and this and this and this and this, but one impossible thing at a time. And I do agree with you though. COVID, like because of COVID, all these people were able to turn out to protest all the more. You know what I mean? It's given more people an opportunity to voice their frustration and anger. And then with how COVID was handled from the get-go, knowing that thousands of lives could have been saved if we had just implemented, you know, the stay-at-home order 2 weeks in advance, like 2 weeks prior to what it was given. I mean, it's just, you know, it's a pent-up frustration on everything specifically with this, since this,
it's, and I mean, I definitely don't want to like, you know, take the majority of the time talking about it, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's so like, I think it's like two sides of the coin, right? Because like on one hand, it's just so frustrating. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about like clearing out that park so that Trump could go to that church, right? He's going to a church that he does not go to, holding a book that he has never fucking read. You know,
upside down,
right?
Like upside down.
I told one of my buddies that like I would love to hear him try to pronounce Deuteronomy. You know what I mean? Like just like like drop an Ephesians.
Say Ephesians.
Let me see how that sounds. Like you just.
I bet Psalms would be a problem for him. Like
P sounds.
Peace Psalms. It's like salmon. So Peace Psalm. Yeah. No, I don't even.
I don't know who this Judas guy was, but he seems great. Like just like
seems great.
his personality was very bigly. So but like you see that and like it's so fucking infuriating. But then you flip the coin and like you see this movement. You see like all these people come together and like you're seeing things happen that like. I mean, Jesus Christ, if you know that shooting in Atlanta would have happened last year, like there's no fucking way those cops would have been charged. They wouldn't have been, they'd still be on the job. They'd be out doing the same shit. Or, you know, if I don't know if you saw those two kids that were pulled out there, they were going to get food and drove and, you know, they smashed the windows out of the car. Like those dudes would still have, out. Yeah, they would still have jobs. And like, I'm with you. Like I've got military members in my family. I've had a 911 dispatcher on the show. Her husband is a police officer. I know him very well. And, you know, he's, you know, a good guy. He's a good police officer, but it's like, you know, what I honestly think is that we need to restructure the system so that good cops, number one, get paid more. You don't need as many, so they get paid more. You know, you're having psych, like why is the psych evaluation the last thing they do when you're going to become a cop? Yeah, that should be like the first thing. Like, hey, did you get the shit kicked out of you in high school? You got some like scores you're trying to settle. Maybe this isn't for you. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think, you know, if it's a drug overdose, my wife's a social worker. You know, it's like send a social worker. And
that's the thing. Like funding for other departments needs to happen. The cops, it's not fair for every call to go to them. Yeah. It's not their fault they're overworked. You know what I mean? It's not their fault that, okay, I have a homeless person. There's a person probably with a mental disability. Like in Chicago, they shut down a lot of the psychiatric institutes. Mm-hmm. What happened to those people? They're on the streets. Yep. There are tents under our overpasses because there's no money being allocated specifically to help them. It's drug abuse. I mean, an addiction. You don't.
If you're a cop,
in jail.
If you're a cop, your job shouldn't be to, you know, dose 50 people a day with Narcan. That's not your job.
Yeah, that's not your job. Exactly. We need proper funding allocation. You know, just like with other things, like infrastructure. You know, these bridges that are collapsing that are killing tons and tons of people. Like, you know, there's so many things. I feel like this whole situation is really helping us to not only reevaluate how Black people and minorities are being treated, but it's like, really, do we need all this money in defense? We are the largest nation in the world. And what was it? I feel bad quoting because I don't remember my source or if I'm quoting them accurately, but like with the top I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to say it without being correct. But
well, I mean, I know
money. You know what I'm saying.
I know we build tanks, and the military is like, stop building tanks. You're sending us tanks, and we have nothing to do with them, but we're just like fucking building them to build them. It's like our defense budget, and like why? I've talked about this before. Like Kevin Hart has teamed up with Chase Bank, and he's going into inner cities, and he's teaching these kids about, hey, like this is how you invest, right? This is how you know, this is what you would do if you wanted to, you know, start a business, get your business permit, like entrepreneurial skills from someone who looks like them. And I'm like, that's awesome. Well, why the fuck does Kevin Hart have to do that? Why aren't we saying,
because he has a platform,
right? It's like, hey, you know what, Minneapolis, you don't need a tank and an armored vehicle. We're going to take that money and we're going to do business classes for kids in the city, you know,
right? So I found it. So this is quoting the Peter G. Peterson Foundation. The U.S. defense spending compared to other countries. The United States spends more on national defense than China, India, Russia, Saudi Arabia, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Japan, South Korea, and Brazil combined.
It's crazy.
Why?
I mean,
Why?
I understand why France doesn't spend that money. Number one, they're too drunk, and then number two, they've got plenty of old baguettes.
And the cheese. Oh, their cheese! I can't even with. Oh, I do want to go to France. I really do want to go there. Oh my god.
One thing I did want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're right. It is absolutely fucking insane that's like, especially like, you know, when you look at bridges that are collapsing. And I mean, I will say like coming from Michigan to Tennessee, it's crazy down here because like if a road is fucked up, like it gets fixed immediately. It's not like Michigan where it's like, hey, we're going to be working on this for 3 years. And then they're just like filling in potholes with like oatmeal and hoping it gets hard or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, it gets fixed down here. Like they do use the taxes for that like very quickly. But it's like, we've obviously got money that we could be investing into our people, our communities, our infrastructure, like really making, I hate to like even fucking say this, but like really making America great in a way as far as like,
making it better.
Right. You know, like.
So we'll use the word better.
Yes. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I did want to ask you because I've got two other things I wanted to ask you about before we wrapped up, but I know you went to China fairly recently with, it was with Final Say, right?
Mm-hmm. I was in Japan last year and I was in China, I think 2 years ago.
Okay.
Like the year before last year.
Okay. Maybe it was Japan that I saw, like, because you had posted a bunch of pictures on the Instagram and stuff like that. What was that experience like? Because again, I'm someone that was always like, oh, I'm going to be a fucking rock star. I'm going to tour all over and like, you're doing it. You're like in Japan, fucking like living it. So like, what was that experience like?
Oh man, Japan. So to be completely candid, Japan had nothing to do with Final Say or performing like with Final Say. Mm-hmm. That was all me. For my personal like performing, networking, I have some other things that have been in the works to keep silent about because I don't know how they're gonna hush hush. I don't know how they're gonna pan out work wise. But so there are multiple reasons for me to go to Japan, but it wasn't because of Final Say.
Okay.
And it was actually in between shows. So I had a show in Alaska because we have a contract out there for the Associate General Contractors of Alaska. So the people who built Alaska, they have their annual gala.
I think it's tomato. I think they both work.
And so I had a gig there, and then I had like 8 days off, and then I had a gig in Florida, Naples, another corporate account. So before Naples was booked, I was like, I'm going to go to Japan. I have these things I want to do. I've always wanted to go. So I went from Alaska to Japan, and just arriving in the airport everything was different. Everything was cleaner. Everything was more organized. I'm OCD. I'm the magical combination. Like, back in high school, my initial diagnosis, so it's like depression, anxiety, and OCD, right? And those things, the first two tend to propel my OCD. So I arrived in Japan, and it was like an OCD's person, like their heaven. I was like,
everything's
it's so clean. It's
so
amazing,
clean.
and it's organized, and there's like a method to everything. And it was phenomenal. The people were so polite and so loving and so accepting. It was really funny because I went alone. I did everything. So I didn't do everything, but I went to Osaka first, and then I went to Kyoto, and then I went to Tokyo. And I flew in and out of Osaka to save money for those who want to travel to Japan. It's cheaper that way. But everyone was extremely friendly. It was, I made an effort to learn some basic Japanese, just to try to excuse me, how do stuff like that. I didn't retain it all, unfortunately, but like, sumimasen, like, excuse me, pardon me, or, it's, if you show effort, that you respect the culture, and that, you know what I mean? It's all about respect. Legit.
Well, they're a culture too that's like very steeped in tradition and
respect.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when I was there, I got a chance to basically see some of the most magical spots in the world. I went to an UNESCO National Heritage Site. So I walked through a bamboo forest. I got a chance to eat blowfish. I didn't even know I ate blowfish, and I survived. I ate Kobe beef in Kobe, which was
delicious.
I was so happy. The food alone, the food and the shochu, or the drinking, not sake, but the shochu was just out of sight. It was beautiful. The night markets. I before COVID happened, I was already planning my second trip back. Osaka reminded me of like Naples in Italy. It reminded me of like, I don't like using that, but like Detroit, but when Detroit was like at its prime.
Before like the riots, when like all the car companies were doing really well, because it used to be like a little, like almost like a Hollywood, like it was. There's famous people there all the time,
more compacted and more like a little bit grungier than the other two. Kyoto was straight up steeped in tradition, and I stayed at a traditional Japanese inn there. So Ryokan, but you say yokan. So I had a tatami mats, and like one of those roll-out beds, and
the whole 9 yards.
It was insane. The whole 9 yards. I was across the street, not even across the street, next door to a temple and gardens, and that's when I went to the UNESCO Heritage Site. Walked through through a bamboo forest. Like I mean, it was insane. And then Tokyo was definitely Tokyo. It was like everything you see in movies, and even like, the Cars movies, they had like Tokyo, like a Tokyo edition, kind of like, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Like it legit is very much so just like that, but
very hustle bustle and
and then like just stacks of lights and buildings and neon signs, and super cool. Awesome. I saw a life-size Goku because I like Dragon Ball Z. Well, I grew up like really liking Dragon Ball Z. And
you go straight Super Saiyan.
Oh my God, it was amazing. He was like, this figure was maybe like 6'5", 6'8", so huge, right? I'm 5'1.5". So I like walked up to it and I hugged it, and I was pretending that I was like, I loved him back in the day, and these construction workers saw me because there was construction going on, and they were legit like this across the street. And then they like walked closer and they would like watch me.
I mean, at 5'1", you probably could have climbed the thing, like got up on his shoulders.
I'm just saying, I kind of fell in love. I even like with my family. I'm like, guys, I found my future husband.
He's the strong, silent type.
He is. We met. He does beat people up, but it's not his fault. He's very good at what he does. He needs to defend the world. And they were like, "Oh my God, what did you do?" Yeah. And no, it was completely worth it. But
let me ask you this, because
it's crazy.
I had my friend on, Emily, and she's currently a yoga instructor, and she actually went to India and like this exact same thing, kind of like went by herself. You know, it's like she went, it was with the school, but I don't think she like really knew anybody. She just was like, "Oh, I have an opportunity, so I'm going to go." Like, you know, I've been to Canada and Mexico, so like that's about as like well traveled as I am. So like, what is it like? You know, you land and then it's like, oh, like I'm here by myself, and like this is because I got to imagine it kind of feels like a whole different planet when you're, you know, it's a different culture and things like that, and you're just kind of dropped in the center with, you know, no compass or anything like that.
So with the OCD, I had a list of all the things I wanted to do, the places I wanted to go. I had an understanding of the vast array of their public transportation system, which was Tokyo Station was like an airport. Like it legit was as big as an airport underground with like two, like the north and the south terminals. It was for me. I did a lot of research. I had multiple apps to like help me translate things just in case I really needed assistance. But honestly, I moved out when I was 17, and I've been on my own for quite some time. I moved to Chicago by myself to pursue music, and I've lived in 4 different states. I was raised to be extremely self-reliant and independent. So when I got there, to me, it wasn't like, holy shit, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It was more like, this is amazing, new adventure. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying, but like, I have a translator and I kind of know some things. And like, you know what I mean? For me, it was more exciting.
That's awesome.
I'm extremely adventurous, and I love a challenge, and not always. Right now, this challenge is very trying, you know, with our current climate. But I honestly, I've moved enough to where I didn't have a choice, and I just had to deal with it, to the point where it's like, okay, I'm doing this because I want to. So it's like, I even ate McDonald's over there just to see if it tasted the same. It was better. It was better. It was better in China too. I'm just saying, they locally source. They don't have like 3 giant, they haven't industrialized agriculture to the extent that America has. So there's a freshness, and there's, because you everything is local. It's not shipped from, you know, Florida to Minnesota, or you know what I mean, like from the vastness. It's everything is locally sourced, so everything is very seasonal. And that's the same in Japan. And oh my God, the fish, the beef, everything, the vegetables. It was just amazing. I was just excited.
Well, I mean, it's like, I can definitely see that. Like, part of me feels like I'm very, especially when I've had a couple of drinks in me, I get excited when I go new places. Like, my wife and I, like I said, we went on a cruise for our honeymoon, and our cruise left out of New Orleans, which I'd never been.
I want to go so bad. I haven't either.
So I need to go again, because we went, And by the time we got, so it was a little unconventional. We got married, and then my wife's entire side of the family was like, hey, we're all taking a cruise together. You should come for your honeymoon. So on our honeymoon, there was like my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my wife's stepmom, her kids, like my, my brother-in-law, everything like that. So we're like, well, I mean, we didn't really have any honeymoon plans anyway. So yeah, like, let's go. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So we flew to New Orleans from Nashville, or New Orleans, or whatever they said. But Nolans. Everybody that was there got there the day before. So when we landed, got everything put in the hotel, everybody had already been like drinking most of the day. And so I was like, I need to play catch up. I was like, and we were there from when I got smashed, and I got my wife so angry because I was walking around high-fiving everybody. I was like, my man, high five. And she I blacked out. She took me back to the hotel, and then I slept for like maybe 15 minutes, and I was like, we got to go to Bourbon Street. And she's like, we're not going to Bourbon Street. Like, you're hammered. We're not going. And I was like, we're not in Murfreesboro, which is where we lived at the time. I was like, we're not in Murfreesboro, Kara. I was like, get up. We're going to Bourbon Street. And she did not say a word to me. We went down one side of Bourbon Street, crossed the road, came back down the other side, and then went right back to the hotel. And she didn't talk to me until like noon the next day. But I want to go back just because I want to like be able to pace myself a little bit without being like, because we did like the crawfish boil and the potatoes and the corn. Oh, it's so fucking good.
I want a beignet so bad.
Oh, dude, they're delicious. You can order. I'll have to send it to you. You can order the mix. There's and the same company. If you like chicory coffee, which is, I don't know if you ever had it, so good, but they make the coffee that you can buy and the beignet mix. So you can just like have it shipped. It's, nice. Oh my God, it's so good. But yeah, I mean, I think I would almost have like, if I was dropped off someplace like that by myself, I think like the first like 15 minutes would just be me like, I don't know how to say anything. And like, I'm just like internal panic. And then I have to be like, well, you're here and you're not going
exactly
home so
and that's it. Like, yeah, when I first got there, I was like, holy shit, like, I did this is happening. I'm here. So okay, you've been dreaming about this, let's just do this. It's like there's a point where you move past the oh shit moment and you're just like, let's do this. Right. And like, I was jet lagged as fuck.
Sure.
I literally had a show Saturday night until 1 a.m., got off the stage, took off my heels, and went directly to the airport to take a flight from, I was in Alaska to Seattle to LAX, and then I had a 2-hour layover, LAX, then 12 hours and 40 minutes to Osaka. And it was like, let's go. And that was
12 hours. I would think it would be a little bit longer than that. 12
actually,
hours.
I think like on the way was 13. On the way home was like 12 and a half.
Oh,
but yeah,
it, like
it was
tailwind or something.
Yeah, but it was just like I finished the gig, and I literally normally I hang out because I've been in Alaska now 6 years. Well, last year, 6 years running with this gig, and so we have friends and we hang out with people, and we like to, spend some time. Last year, I went to Fairbanks, Alaska, went ice fishing, got a chance to keep exploring, went to the Chena Hot Springs.
That's awesome.
After my gig. But like this year, I literally had my bags next to the stage, and I said goodbye to everyone, and I just went. And I was just like, I don't know when I'll ever be able to do this again, but there are moments where I was like kind of freaked out, but then, there are moments where like, it's cool. It's cool to be doing this alone, yeah. But then there are also moments where you kind of want to turn to your person and be like, did you fucking see that?
Right.
But then there's like no one there and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I can imagine.
This was
like,
cool.
yeah. Yeah. I mean,
a lot of feelings.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like, I mean, especially now, I mean, my wife and I, I've lived down here now for 7 years. So like
7 years.
Yeah,
wow.
Dude, it's, and it feels like a blink of, a blink of the eye now. But like,
Mm-hmm.
that's that. Like on my bucket list, I want to go to Ireland. Like I want to go.
Oh my God, yes.
So, you know, that's something I've told her that I want to do. And I would hope that like, that's something that we could do together and things like maybe take the kid when she's a little bit older. And, but yeah, I mean, it's gotta be crazy just to kind of be like, it's gotta almost, it seems like it would almost, at least for me, almost kind of be like a little bit of a religious experience. I'm not a very religious person, maybe like more of like a connecting with the universe.
Yeah. You know? Like feeling like this is the moment that you were supposed to be in. Like like it's kind of surreal. Like I was meant to be here at this time. It's where I'm supposed to be.
Well, that's awesome. And I mean, I hope you get a chance to go back. I mean, right now, I mean, with COVID and everything, from what I understand, I think they're doing pretty well overall.
Better than us.
I mean, may not be the worst place to be. You know what I mean? I would definitely say go to Japan then instead of coming to Tennessee right now. So,
oh, that's so sad to hear. Oh my God.
But when it's over, if you're ever down this way, definitely, let me know.
I will. I mean, that's so crazy because I was in Nashville 2 years ago.
Okay.
My girlfriend, my best friend, one of my best friends, she got married and we had her bachelorette party in Nashville. And then I was also in Pigeon Forge that same year. So like I was in that area.
Yeah, Pigeon Forge is awesome. It's
my God, the Smoky Mountains.
Yeah. I saw a bear. We rented a cabin.
What?
We rented a cabin and I was outside having some adult time. And I was putting on chapstick, if you know what I'm saying. So
let's get chapped. You gotta do it.
Yeah. And I looked down and there's just this black bear. I was like, holy shit, I just saw a bear. And then like we got home and a month later, I saw a video of the exact kind of place that we were in, but the bear decided it was going to climb up to the balcony. And I was like, thank God that was not the bear that I got, because I would have shit my pants immediately.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I mean, if
so
you're
crazy.
ever out this way, it'd be awesome to like come, if you're doing a show or whatever, you come to Nashville and there's definitely a lot of, I mean, any weekend you go out normally, it's like you see the bachelorette parties, it's like always there's a lady with like
we were them
hat on. Yeah.
We were them. I mean, we were much more chill about it. We didn't have like her in a wedding dress or anything. Mm-hmm. We had really cool, it looked like the Jack Daniels label.
Oh, that's
but it
awesome.
was like the bridal party, and it's just like black t-shirts, V-necks. We're all like, musicians. And so we weren't that extravagant.
Oh yeah, you see them like normal people, and then you're like, I'm getting married, and it's like you got like a 3-foot dick hat on, and like the sash,
and you're just like, oh God.
Yeah.
Your voice makes my head hurt. I can't.
But there's a lot of places. Like my favorite place to go downtown is there's a karaoke bar. That you can go to, and it's kind of like a dive bar, and you can still like smoke in there. So like I go smoke cigarettes and like listen to people sing, and it's that like those are kind of like, I'm not a big like let's go to let's hit like Broadway and go to all like the touristy spots, but I like going to just kind of like the like kind of hole in the wall.
Yeah, the hole in the wall. I mean, I don't blame you. Shoot. The tourist traps are tourist traps, and I mean, no offense to those owners, because I mean, hey, make money. Do what you do.
I mean, that's what people come for,
Exactly. But for like locals, that's why I moved out of downtown Chicago. It's like
you can only go to the Disney store and the Miracle Mile so many times.
I actually used to work on Michigan Ave. Like it can get, I feel like you have to have the right disposition. And then like with what I do musically, it's hard to have to, a little much.
Do you remember Taylor Smith? Do you remember him at all? He was a buddy of mine. He lived down there. So every time I would go to Chicago, we go. Last time I was there, we were down off the Miracle Mile. You know how like you can walk, if you go the right way, you can kind of walk under the under the bridge.
Yep. Yeah. You walk under. Okay. I have to do this to you. It's the Magnificent Mile. I just want you to.
Isn't that what I said?
You said Miracle. Oh, very close.
Well, magnificent. It's still a mile. It starts with an M.
Yes, it is. It's M&M. M&M.
But we were walking. We're like, oh shit, crack pipe. We found several crack pipes. I was like, all right, cool. Well, when it gets dark, we know where to come party. This is the spot.
You probably walked through Lower Wacker, kind of a situation. Yeah. That
Yeah,
happens.
I'd have to go down there for work a couple times, and it was always cool because we've been best friends since I was a little kid. So he would be down there, and he'd always come meet me, and kind of take me around the city and stuff like that. So it was a good time. But
did he go to PSAP? Was he?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm totally gonna look in my yearbook now.
Yeah, he's probably. What year did you graduate?
06.
06. Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, he actually graduated with you.
Okay.
Yeah, because my brother's 2 years younger, and he graduated in 2006. So yeah.
Okay, for sure.
But the last thing I want to ask you, and I was kind of saving this question because I thought you may have an interesting perspective on it, and with everything we've been talking about. So we're talking like right now, it really does feel like you said, we're in the midst of like the biggest civil rights revolution really that we've seen in a really long time. Since the 60s, and every big revolution, right, there's almost like a soundtrack. So when you look at like the 60s, you've got the Beatles, and you've got Motown, you've got all these songs that really, you got Dylan, and just stuff that really captured the moment of what was going on, and when you look back all these years later, you're like, oh, that's like what this sound was. I was wondering, in your opinion, right, like when people look back 20, 30, 40 years from now, is there anybody that kind of sticks out to you musically that you think is going to be associated with what's going on right now?
So this album didn't come out this year, but for me, the album specifically, To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
That album to me really emanates the time.
I agree.
Like, it's just, I remember when he won Album of the Year, when he won that Grammy for that one, and it was like, the whole hip hop community was like, oh, it's about damn time, and you know what I mean. But it's just like, I feel like even until now, I think it was like 2015 that it came out, I think.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
But yeah, that to me, that album.
Yeah, I think for me, Childish Gambino, This Is America. I think that's one that, like, especially, I mean, not only the song, because like the song references so many other artists of the time, but then I really think that like that has the potential to be a music video that's shown in classes in like an educational format, like years from now.
Totally.
And then I think the other one would be, I was talking about this with my friend Matt, who's a producer. He was on the show a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about Run the Jewels, Killer Mike.
Oh, Killer Mike. Did you hear his talk?
Mm-hmm. The one they did in Atlanta with
before the mayor went on, or the governor. Yeah, T.I. was T.I.
T.I.'s problematic. After that stuff he said about his being a dad, after that stuff he said about his daughter, T.I. is problematic to me. But Killer Mike,
that was just like, that was almost as, I felt like that was kind of on par with Dave Chappelle's talk. Like, that was like, holy shit, like, this is, it looked like he was going to break out into tears. Like, yeah, no, sorry, continue. Yeah.
No. I mean, I
Run
agree.
the Jewels.
I agree. And like, he's been, I was thinking about it too. It's like, it's gotta be frustrating to some extent for him, because how long has he been saying the same thing? How long has he been, you know what I mean? And like, as someone who invests in Black businesses in Atlanta, like, he works with these kids who built their own like soda company, and they, distribute out. So it's like, how long do you have to say the same thing before people are like, oh shit, that's what's going on? And especially all right, like the protesting is the first step. Now it's mobilize, come up with your plan. Who you voting for?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you
totally.
can't just have protests. So there's gotta be organized action behind it.
There's got to be more. Yeah, there's got to be more. And I feel, how many times do you have to say the same thing? How many people do you have to say it to? I feel like because of the internet, the age of the internet and the smartphone, that has changed everything. You know, people now, it's not like, oh, okay, well, this person told me this, I don't know if I believe them. It's like, oh shit, no, I'm watching it and I feel very uncomfortable witnessing what's happening. And it's like that right there. It's like, that's the golden era, the golden age of communication. It's now everyone around the world to know that there are protests around the world for what's happening here.
Crazy. Like when you saw the protests in Spain, and to be like that's fucking solidarity.
Yeah.
Dude. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like, it's like when we had World War II. It's not okay. Like these things are not okay, to have mass genocides and to kill people simply because of the color of their skin, because of their race, because of their creed. It's not okay. And so it's like, and then that's another thing that really just irks me for all of the veterans and for all of the people who have sacrificed themselves, specifically in that war, to defend the right for people of all races just to simply exist. You know what I mean? It's like we fucking fought the Nazis. That was a worldwide understanding. This is not okay.
Genocide.
It was a war on genocide, right? So like, why is this a problem now? We literally had a world war to determine that this was not okay. But it's like, okay, now it's a question again? What the fuck? Yeah. That's a slap in the face to every veteran. Like, it blows my mind.
Yeah, and I think it's another example of
crazy.
We're all in this together until we're not. You know, World War II is like, we're shutting down factories, we're bringing women in, we're, you know what I mean? Like we're, you know, Rosie the Riveter in this motherfucker, you know what I mean? And then it's like the boys come home, we don't give them any help, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, thanks for doing that. And then it's, you know, it's just another, like, there's just stuff that we got to fix. And I'm really hoping, my hope is that, you know, like I was telling you, you know, my daughter's 19 months old. She's not even 2 yet. And so I'm really hoping that by the time she's, you know, my age, if a super volcano hasn't exploded or something like that, that things are different.
Right. And we also have global warming.
Now, I will say that is the one thing. Well, not even the one thing. There's been a couple things about COVID so there was a hole in the ozone layer that fixed itself because planes weren't flying. Like it's like essentially healed itself. So that's awesome. And then I think it was New Delhi in India. Did you see the pictures where there was kids there who had never actually seen the color of the sky? They'd never seen it.
Yep. I saw that.
They were like losing their, so like hopefully those kids will be like, hey man, I like that. Like, can we not be pumping all this shit?
Yeah.
You know?
Something similar happened in Venice, Italy, where they could actually, through the canals, they could see through the water and see the fish for the first time in like decades. It's like, okay, like this is.
Yeah. Part of me wonders if it's the world, if it's like the earth being like, hey, fuckers, like take a break. You know what I mean?
Well, like, Dwight said it in The Office. I'm sorry. Like, and I am saddened and it's upsetting and I'm heartbroken by every person who has lost their life with this pandemic. It's unreal. We could have been better and we could have been more proactive. And I salute all of the first responders and all of the people, even at the grocery stores, you know what I mean? Like the attendants at the banks that are just helping us get our money. Like I salute all of them. But it's interesting that like Dwight in The Office said, there are too many people in this world. We need another pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
What he said. Remember that at Phyllis's wedding?
Oh,
with Jim?
So I don't know if you've noticed, that is Christmas elf Dwight.
Oh,
that is
my God.
Michael Scott.
Oh.
That's
Pam.
That's Daryl.
Daryl.
Over where's it? Over there, you can't see it, but I have the Office downsizing game. I play Office trivia once a weekend, So,
dude, if you ever need to phone a friend, I got you.
Dude, it's on Zoom. It's on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So I'll send you the information.
I love The Office.
It's $10, and if you win first place, you win like 300. Second place is 200.
Okay.
So if you lose, you're out $10. But it's especially during like COVID and everything. It's been awesome.
Yep.
Like I get to socially interact. Like people show all their Funko Pops, and they show like people come dressed up. Like there's a girl dressed as Prison Mike.
I'd be 3-hole punch Jim.
Oh yeah, that one's been there. My favorite one is Halloween Creed, where he just shows up with all the blood on his shirt.
With all the blood on his shirt.
He's like, I really lucked out.
I love it when he gave Michael his disco ball. He's like, no, I can't see anybody.
I can't see who's behind me.
Who's behind me?
My favorite Creed line is it's an episode with Robert California, and they both, I forget what they both say. And then they say something about like how old is she or whatever, and Creed says, Jinx, buy me some Coke instead of like buy me a Coke.
Oh, Coke, yeah.
I was like, so yeah, I'll send you the information because it's my wife tapped out on me she's been watching The Office on repeat for like 7 years. So
oh my God, me too. So actually, since high school, I've been watching The Office on repeat. So it's like I used to fall asleep to it, and I also love Parks and Rec. Totally.
Yeah. I watched it. It came out the year that I graduated. It came out in 2004. So like I caught it and like thought it was funny. But then when it hit Netflix, I mean, it's been on Netflix forever. And I was like, I'm going to start it from the beginning. And then it's just been on in a loop. Like now, if there's nothing else on, it's like, and then
The Office.
Millie, my daughter, she goes, Pam, Daryl, and she loves Threat Level Midnight, so she can
Threat Level Midnight. Oh my
make
God!
All the goodness feel all right.
All right.
Have you seen the full movie?
Yes, I have actually.
We watch that every day that when I'm off work and I have her when she eat lunch. We watch Threat Level Midnight together.
Oh, that's so fantastic.
Yeah, so she goes,
Scar, that's so cute.
Jim. So she's gonna be I told Kara, I was like, she's gonna be an improv and like want to play guitar. She's gonna be a little like nerd, so get prepared for. Oh, I know.
Perfect. That's amazing. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, she looks like me now, but her mom is beautiful. So like, I'm worried like when she gets older, hopefully she's into that dorky stuff, and then like that kind of keeps boys away until she's 35. So
it doesn't.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry.
I know. Okay. There's just going to be nerdy boys.
Yep.
Well,
hey.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Or girls, whatever. We're an accepting family.
Anybody.
As long as as we've already had that talk. Hey, as long as they're nice to her, and that's what, you know what I mean? That's
treat her right, respectful. Yes.
Yep. So, yeah, we are a very accepting household, very young. I mean, I don't know why we're worried about it now, but we were like, let's just make sure we're on the same page. So like 13 years from now, we know what to tell her. So.
See, and that's the thing, communication. My God, it's pivotal to creating any relationship, whether it's friendship, business, you know what I mean? Like anything. Communication is everything. Being able to just have a conversation and be on the same page.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's
so important.
I mean, with you saying that, like I wanted to say thank you so much for coming in and doing the show. Like, you know, first and foremost, it's just been awesome to like catch up with you and talk to you and see you. It's been, like I said, it's been so long, but like more importantly, I think like through the path that you've taken, like the work that you've put in, you know, hopefully there's a lot of people that are listening to this who will feel inspired. And I mean, even talking about, you know, the protests and COVID and everything like that. I mean, hopefully that resonates with somebody. I mean, again, you're incredibly talented. You've always had a giant heart. And I really, really appreciate you doing it and being here. And I did want to ask, I mean, if people wanted to check out like Final Say or, you know, like maybe, you know, support School of Rock or anything like that. I mean, is there any way that you have that like people can see like your work or anything like that? Or
I mean, yeah, you can look us up, Final Say Band. I would type that in maybe to the URL. They change it sometimes on management company. But honestly, I mean, if you in my eyes, if you really want to support the arts, there are a lot of people who really need just support on a legislative level. So I recommend, reaching out to your state representatives, whether it's your House representative, or your governor, your mayor, your village, your alderman. I've even reached out to my senator and my congressman from my district. Just, being another voice to let them know that the musicians and the gig workers are, especially those of us who are hybrids, who are working both, we need more help. We need more help. It's the setup right now is not working, and I know that people, everyone's strapped right now, money wise. It's not like we can all add another bill to the docket, but it's like if you really want to try to make a difference in people's lives, reach out to your local state representatives. They will take your call. They will hear you. Mine are working to help, you know what I mean? And it's just, I feel like people forget that it starts with one voice, and it's grassroots that really do change the circumstances, not only for them, but for their communities and the people that have fallen through the cracks, such as myself and a lot of people that I know. So, hey, if you want to follow me, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, MO, so Mo, my name is Morgan, MO_music19.
Mo Music.
Mo Music.
That's how I read it every time I see it.
Right? Thank you. Thank you. Some people are like, Mom Music? I'm like, no, that's an extra M. That's not how you read words.
There's an underscore there, idiot.
And that's why I actually had to put the underscore, because people were like, Mom Music? I'm like, okay, there are a lot of people that don't read right. Like, reading is hard. Words are hard. So I'm going to make it easier. Mo_music19. I told you.
It's a lucky number. Episode 19.
Episode 19. But yeah.
I will say, I think when I saw your Instagram handle, because I followed you for a while, but when I saw it, I was like, that is very clever, because it's Morgan, but it's also Mo Music. I was like, I want some Mo. I liked it. I thought,
gotta have some Mo Music in your life. And it's like, hey.
Yeah, mine's just, the show is just Johnversations. It's very, very simple. So
that's great.
Nothing clever about it.
Super. No, that is though. Johnversations, conversations. It's not like you're adding any more.
Yeah, but like you said, words are hard. So when people are like, how do you spell?
My God.
First of all, how do you spell conversations? And then how do I turn that into Johnversations? Not anybody who's listening. Anybody who's listening to the show is smart enough. They found it. I put links everywhere. Thank you for knowing how to spell, anyone who's listening. But
oh my gosh.
But
the world we live in.
That's crazy. Well, I just, I wanted to say thank you for coming on, and again, with everything being so insane right now, this has really been like, it's been a pleasure. It's made me feel awesome, like, to be able to sit and talk to you, and I don't know. It's just, there's not a ton of things going on right now that are really oh shit, I'm really happy that happened. So, and this is one of them for me. So I really appreciate you being here, and just want to say thank you. We'll wrap it up. Will you stick around for me after we're done recording?
Definitely. And I just have to say thank you, because I feel the same. There are so many moments, almost all of the moments, that are just, you have to just breathe and try to keep yourself measured to logically navigate through. And there are moments like this that are rare and few and far in between, where it's like you see that just ray of sunshine through the clouds, and you're like, oh, you can kind of, that warm feeling, you can breathe a little easier and actually thoroughly enjoy someone's company from afar via Zoom, and catch up with an old friend from way back in the day. And thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure. And thank God for Zoom. I mean, can you imagine if this was like 40 years ago and it was like, Morgan, I'm writing you this letter from Nashville, Tennessee.
And then you have to really have like legible handwriting, right? And it's just not just.
And it's like, I'm saying 40 years ago, but I'm like using a quill.
buy like a lantern light.
Right. Yeah. I've got my whale blubber lamp here, and I'm just.
Yeah, no, totally. I see it now.
But, well, again, thank you so much for being here. This has again really been a treat. And guys, we will see you next week for episode 20. Morgen Hare, she's at Mo_music19 on Instagram. We'll link that up. Thank you guys for listening. Morgan, thank you for being here. We will see you guys next week.
Thank you.